Welcome back, listeners. This is the continuation from last week's episode. We'll pick up where we left off in our game of what would you do? Somehow that gets us into what makes people the way they are, what made us the way we are. That's scary. A little bit about the creation of the show and a dangerously candid look into why we're not too quick on the uptake with examples, case studies even, when it comes to the opposite sex. Enjoy.
Heroes of
humility, 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 humility. This is not a charade. This is real. These words you are about to hear are coming from real humans on a mission to save the human race from itself. Buckle up while these delusional heroes of humility, aka hoes, attempt to right the wrongs in everyday human behavior. No, you know what? I'll say this is that I think when you have a little one, when you have a little kid, just give them attention, man. Make it all about them. Because one of the things that messed me up or made me healthy, however way you look at it, because honestly, this could be looked at a little bit as both. And Beige makes a good point because it's not always good. And I try to be recognized. And honestly, I'm kind of ashamed of it. So I know it sounds ridiculous because I don't have a lot of shame. But I honestly brought it up because I think it could help. And the thing is that when I was a kid, my mom and dad, their whole world was just me. Everything I did was amazing. Now... And now what you're seeing is the product of that. And it just spilled over into everything. And one of my what would you do's, you guys are going to see, when you hear it, you're going to be like, you were insane. But it's because I had this unfounded, delusional confidence. And I think that's okay.
Well, do you have, because I have maybe I'm just curious to hear this. You have a sibling. Were they the same way?
They were in certain way, but my dad, God rest his soul, my little sister, long story short is dad wasn't as supportive, wasn't as good. And that feeling of you're abandoned by the person who's you're supposed to love you and support you and be there for you no matter what the most, when you feel like they're not, it's traumatic, dude. And when I was a kid, I felt like I had all of that. And it's a hard thing. And I think when Beige asked, how is that different? Some of that's probably genetics or whatever. I guess I just got that gene, but some of it was probably learned. Like I said, when I was I could barely walking and the jukebox is on. And then we went to my grandma's restaurant and people I didn't even know, like, that's not my mom or dad. And they're like clapping and laughing. And you want that. Once you feel that, you just want it all the time. It's an endorphin.
Yeah. It's positive. Yeah, positive. Because I was going to say that my sister and I were a year and a couple months apart. So pretty similar, raised by the same parents. And it's funny to think that how even her aspect in life is so different than me. She tends to lean like when we worked for the same company, we worked for Costco when we were younger, and mine was working in the sales department. So you have to talk to people about the computers and whatnot. And then I used to do the executive upgrade thing where I'd approach people and was like, hey, do you know you could save money, blah, blah, blah. My sister was the opposite. She wanted to get in there early in the morning, be on a forklift, stocking stuff, not talk to anybody. So that's her personality. Is it wrong? Is it right? No, I don't think so. It's just difference of personality. So for her to stand up in front of people was always like mortifying. And she always would rub it in my face when we would take tests at school. She would study, and then just get nervous. And I'm like, man, she's a lot more academic smarter than me. But then
self-conscious thing.
Yeah, it's a self-conscious thing. And I would barely have to try, and I would test better. And
so this is what I'm saying. What happened in your life to make you, it could be like one thing. Like, what if she worked your job for a day and had an unreal positive experience? Would that change her personality type?
I think talking to people that she doesn't know, and she's just not a very...
Yeah, because she doesn't have a lot of successful experience. Like, so if she did have some successful experiences doing that, would that change that part of her? Would she stop being nervous for tests? You know what I mean? Like, just generalization, obviously.
Yeah,
but
and like, it's funny because to me, I always thought in my head that, man, if I had studied as much as her, I would walk in there with so much confidence. I'd be like, give me the test right now. I'll take it. And her, that she would study, and then just like her nerves would that it would just overwhelm her. And I think it was almost because even back when, like before you're a little kid and before you have all these life experiences, it was all, she would walk into the room and she just kind of felt like we would kid her, but it was kind of true that I was like, man, it's always raining right over her. Why is she always looking at things differently? Because like if you were to ask her, hey, what's her childhood like? She has a completely different response than I, even though we're raised so close in age together.
Well, perception's everything too. In any situation, I could perceive something way different than you.
Oh, absolutely.
I just had this conversation with somebody. I was kind of explaining like PTSD and veterans and all that stuff. And I've done a lot of work like helping veterans with PTSD and me overcoming a lot of obstacles and stuff, being successful after, everything, getting wounded over in Iraq. It kind of helps a lot of guys. But I was explaining perception to her and I was like, you could drop something on your toe and the way you perceive it, the way it affects you, because PTSD does change the makeup of your brain, the chemical reaction, all that. And you pretty much become a different person, like not hugely, but there are long lasting effects to that. And it's all a perception thing. If I'm scared of my own shadow, almost getting a car wreck or something, that could do something to me. That's going to give me that sort of fear for the rest of my life. If there's someone like me that's like, I just brushed that off, that doesn't have the same effect. That same situation doesn't have that effect on me, but it will on this person. So the whole PTSD is just wild. It's what really got me into like people's like behavior and their personality types and all that, which we're going to do here within the next few weeks. And we're going to put it up on the YouTube channel. And I hope everybody watched it. I think it's going to be super interesting.
Yeah. Explain that a little bit. What were your, sorry, Beige, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say, I think in society, we always say anxiety, like it's this bad thing, right? Anxiety's bad. First of all, everybody experiences it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest. Everybody has anxiety. So if you have anxiety, don't feel like you're alone because everybody experiences it. It can be a positive thing. I just heard somebody say, I think on another podcast, anxiety can be a good thing. If you look at fighters out there, if you're not anxious before a fight, you're not thinking.
Yeah.
You're anxious because you're thinking of potential outcomes.
Yes.
That's why you're anxious. If you're taking a test and you're anxious, it's because you're thinking of a potential outcome of you failing.
Yeah.
So that's where that anxiety comes from. If you're not thinking about that, then you're not taking into consideration possible scenarios and working to correct those. So you can harness the anxiety, and I think that's where the PTSD comes from, because now you have experiences of how crap can go wrong, right? Yes. So you have this different frame of reference.
But you also have experience or thoughts on how it could go right. So I think managing the anxiety, or at least like finding that balance, is key. You can't let it take over your life.
Well, like with PTSD, for instance, guys that have been overseas, you hear a loud noise and it takes you back to something that happened, right? Because now you have that experience that your brain can draw back from and say, whereas before it was like, I don't even have that frame of reference to think about that way. Now I do. So now that ups my anxiety on stuff, because now I have just a different frame of reference in my mind that I can draw back from and say, because that's where anxiety comes from, is worrying about potential outcomes.
Yes.
So I think the people that excel in a lot of stuff do have anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, but they also have the wherewithal to overcome that.
Right.
To still tackle
it's a
goal
balance
or project.
It's a balance.
It is.
It's harnessing that.
It's almost like that courage thing.
Have you guys seen that picture of, we're going to talk about this guy again, kind of a nut job, but I honestly don't think he's that bad, but Cruz, he's on the top of this, what's that tallest building in Dubai? I know which one you're talking about. There's a picture of Will Smith up there, and then there's a picture of Tom Cruise up there. I don't know if it's real. I think it is. And you can see the difference between these two human beings on the tallest structure in the world. And one of them looks content and happy, and the other guy is looking like he's trying to look content and happy. And I'll let you guess which one's which. But I think that there's a healthy amount, like you said, there's always a balance you want to strike. And my example of my scenarios, and I'll tell you with my what would you do scenario, you'll see that my balance is a little bit too much like being happy on the top of a skyscraper. That's kind of just an analogy for it. But the idea that I don't have maybe enough of that doubt or self-review to see how the bad outcomes might come, because I don't see them, man. I mean, everything I see, I know, Beige, you would characterize yourself different than what I'm just describing myself to be. Mm-hmm. But you were the first one that said, let's do this. You agreed to do this with me. What we're doing right now, you were the first one. We used to go to lunch with a lot of buddies, and all those buddies brought us out of our misery every day at lunch. In fact, some days we went to work just looking forward to that moment we were going to have with our buddies. But and it's nothing against them, man.
Right.
I love these guys, but they couldn't be here because they have these inhibitions about how they're going to sound or what they're going to say and who, what are people going to think. And you're here, dude.
And you know what's crazy that you bring that up, right? Is that I think the more traumatic or stressful a situation is, and Eleven can speak to this because he's probably been in the most stressful situations being in combat. The more stressful the situation, the more you cling to that camaraderie and brotherhood there, because that is the more dramatic something is, the more you need that reprieve from that.
But you also were, it's just interesting.
That's why in the military, like, there's such a strong bond between guys and in stuff we do too. There's such a strong bond there because it is stressful.
So do you think that's what helped you step,
opposite?
Do you think that's what kind of helped you step out of your comfort zone to be on the show because you had a bond with me?
I think part of it was you're honestly not to get sappy here on the show, but in my professional career, you're one of the best friends I've ever had in my professional career,
man.
And so
means a lot, dude.
And so I know, I wanted to do this too for me.
Well, it's
I
really
was
hard to find friends in that.
Yeah, exactly. People that you can relate
dudes,
to and stuff. Yeah. And so part of it was I wanted to do it because I thought it'd be cool and I had a good time. But also there's that consideration where Pierce is my good buddy and he wants to do this. I want part of me wants, I want to support that and I want to do that with him, so.
I think we're going to have a moment of silence just to.
Oh, dude, big group hug, dude.
It's beautiful, dude.
Yeah. So that is that
means a lot,
empathy,
dude.
too.
Love you, brother.
Yeah.
No, but sometimes do you ever find yourself seeking out the opposite person because of the characteristics that they may have are opposite of yours?
Yeah, because you strive to be that person sometimes. Like, if you're looking at Pierce and he's up there and he's not having a care in the world, like you as somebody with a lot of anxiety, I'd love to be like that.
Yeah.
So you want to be that kind of a person. You don't... If I have somebody with if I'm somebody with extreme anxiety, the last thing I want to see is somebody go up there that's
where
like
you can
me.
hype each other up.
Yeah. Because what that dude's
hey,
feeling.
Let's make each other.
Oh my, dude, this doesn't.
I'll share some of my anxiety with you. You share some of yours with me,
right?
And we'll just both go crazy.
Misery loves company.
Maybe I'll improve a little bit just being around this person. I was watching these videos, and I am not a heights person. I do not like heights. And you see these young kids.
Yeah, I know. You're pretty high, dude.
But there's these young kids that'll get up on like skyscrapers they're walking on the edge of the building.
Oh, dude, those are hard to watch. Yeah.
And it makes my hands sweat. I'm watching a video of this person. They're just like running on the edge and skipping over. I don't even like being on a tall balcony. It's made out of concrete when you're in a hotel.
That's just because you're a big dude.
I don't. Yeah, I wish I could be a little bit.
How many times have you sat in a chair and broke it?
Oh, at least 4 times.
Me too.
Well, and the thing is,
that's why you get on a balcony. You're like, I'm going to break this fucking thing and go down.
Let me check the bolts and make sure they're torqued down.
Yeah,
right.
You're like, oh, you're this little 5'1" girl. Yeah, you can go out there and dance. You'll be fine. Here I am, 3 times your size.
Maybe you hit on it because you know what? I've had a chair completely explode, and I have to.
It's always the back legs too. And so you're. Yeah.
Like it shatters.
That's PTSD, bro.
Yeah, I have PTSD. You absolutely hit it on the head because you know what? We talk about this with friends who you invite you over to their house and they're a younger couple. And,
plastic chair sitting in the sun.
And you're just like, no, I can't sit down. And they're like,
gonna need me more
you're
reinforcement.
being rude. Just sit down. No, you don't understand.
You're being rude by giving me this crappy chair.
I know.
That chair does not.
Yeah.
Well, I'll exceed the weight limit. And it's funny because there's a lot of things that people don't know that chairs, ladders, they all have weight limits. And when you're over 200 pounds.
Yeah, nobody thinks about it unless you're like a big dude.
A kayak.
Yeah.
You're like floating, you're sinking to the bottom.
Second floor is your favorite. Maybe you'll just fall through the roof.
Well, I was buying electric scooters for the boys and me, and I couldn't find one because my son's like 6'6", 300 pounds. I couldn't find any that were like the weight limit's like 240. I'm like, dude, this is like
ain't gonna hold you.
Ain't gonna hold me.
Dude, your son.
And then I found some that were like 440 weight limit, and they were bad. Like,
your son is so tall. He's just got that thing like we were talking about that Rhett has. He's just so lovable. Like I
Yeah.
can't think of a better word
The
because I want it to
second-
sound more macho.
like-
But he's just lovable.
The
dude.
second strangers start talking to Evan, they have a big smile on their face.
Yeah.
He
He's-
just exudes positivity,
Right.
comfort, you know.
and he's giant. He's
And
a big kid.
everyone calls him a gentle giant.
Yeah.
But the second like you start talking to him, I see it at the grocery store or something, you know. Someone will say something, oh, how old are you? You know, and he starts talking to them. They just have that huge grin on their face.
Well, and especially a
always
kid.
smiling.
How old is he? Like 16 or
yeah,
something?
he's 16.
Because most kids that are 16, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
And that's been his personality since
You know?
day one.
Like, most kids
we
don't
used to always
actually.
say Evan doesn't even know a stranger. Like he'll walk up to anybody and just start talking to him. And
That's a
he
good
he
li-
was on the spectrum when
Yeah.
he was younger.
That's
And
a good life
he
skill,
thinks-
you
He's
know?
like a different thinker type too. You know, was always using big words. I'm like, where'd you learn that? You know?
Right.
I would never have guessed that, dude. He's fully. He looked like 110% functional. I don't. Sometimes I think these categories and these
He
descriptions.
had sensory problems, and that could be a whole show.
Well,
if we talk
and
about
that's
that.
where you struggle.
And we've
like,
talked about that.
right, and that's where you struggle as a parent of a kid with special needs. Is that there's balance there as well because you want to get the kid the help that they need,
Yeah.
but you also are very wary about labeling.
Yeah.
Because once
Yeah.
you label, then it
Exactly.
becomes a self
Exactly.
like,
Yep.
oh, I am this.
The
you
way
know?
I explained it to him, you just think different, and we're going to come up with different ways, different from the rest of society, for you to handle situations and think about
Right.
stuff. And he always bought into it. You know, that was kind of the approach I always took with him, and it took years. Thing
I would
ever,
never
and it was
guess
just
any of
like
that.
I worked years on his core strength and hand-eye coordination, and it was every day, an hour and a half every day,
Right.
Like constant stuff.
because once you label somebody something, it's limiting.
Yes,
Because once you say your kid,
and it's a crutch.
yeah, once you tell your kid, hey, you have autism, then they think, I have autism. I can't do this,
Yeah.
you know? Or,
Yep.
hey, you're bipolar. Oh, I'm bipolar. I'm a freak. I don't think it becomes very self-defeating.
It takes
once
away
you
a
do
little bit
that.
of their control over their own environment and destiny because they think, well, I'm predestined because I have this.
Yes.
Right.
To behave this way. Or
Well,
be
they're
this way.
they start using that as excuses to not be better as
Yeah.
well, to overcome whatever obstacle because of stereotypes in society.
Exactly.
on whatever the label is.
But you can't just say, oh, well, I'm not going to act like it's not there because you also need to get them those services and the support that they probably actually need, you know? So it's like anything else. That's the key to life in my opinion. It's a balance.
Balance.
You have to find that. You can't let things get out of balance because that'll have bad ramifications.
Yeah, for sure. I eat peas every day. Okay.
You talk about it every show.
And
What
I
kind
talk
of
about
peas?
it.
Black-eyed peas?
No, just regular peas. Let's stay on
Are they
task.
frozen?
Here we go. The thing is that you could overdo it. You can even overdo it with peas. Probably. I'm not. I know. I probably pushed the limit on that. But the point is that you gotta have some balance. And I just thought of the peas as an analogy for
Right.
balance because there are anti-nutrients in peas, and so it is good for you. There's a lot of health benefits, but yeah, you could feasibly overdo it.
Like you said, like if
pushing
all you
the
ate was
limits, but-
peas,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to live as long as you could because all you're eating is peas.
Yeah.
You know, like there's...
You should probably eat something else.
Yeah, you should probably eat a beef stick, which
Did you?
we're always promised beef sticks when we come over here, and we have yet to receive. Our
I don't
beef
like
stick.
calling
I'm
them
just
beef sticks.
bringing that
but you know
up,
what?
you know.
I will go back and so in practicing this new trek that I'm doing where I write down stuff so I didn't interrupt. Probably about an hour ago, you said something about hot dogs or we're going to eat a hot dog on a stick. I
No,
don't-
working at hot dog on a stick.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, yeah.
So I don't think this is going to work. I just realized because it goes way too far back and nobody's going to remember. But there's certain foods that I don't think guys should be eating. There's certain foods that make it bananas and things. Those are in the privacy of your home. Cut that up, put it in your oat bran. But I don't want to see you out there with a banana, just certain things that let's be aware.
I think I've talked about this in another show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but on the team, like whenever you ate a banana or a hot dog,
Oh, you did say something. Yeah.
You have-
Something phallic,
you have to make eye contact with somebody else the
Yeah.
entire time.
and lick it first before you
yeah,
eat it.
you just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game of chicken, Like,
Okay, my question related to this: Can you
Certain foods.
maintain your toughness and your coolness while drinking out of a straw?
Bastard.
Like,
With the pinky out or the pinky in?
like if you're like gonna get in a
Valid
fight,
question.
if you were gonna get in a fight with somebody or confrontation, you're like, hold on, and you just take
yeah.
some sips out of a straw. Does that
Ironically-
just
I
like,
think
That dude's a
I think
badass.
that's tougher, dude.
Yeah, this guy don't give
It
a
is.
shit.
I think
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, we're about to go. Hang on.
Pinky out, take a sip.
I'd be like, dude, this dude's crazy, man.
this is going to go crazy. There's ironically, it just occurred to me that if it's one of those really tiny straws,
like a
you
silly
don't
straw?
want that.
A
You
silly
want the
straw?
straw to be a lot bigger.
No, I know
Now,
what you
don't know
mean
if that
though. When you
means-
get a real thick milkshake and you're having to,
Where your cheeks are going in. When you're sucking on it.
you having to take
like,
a deep
hold on,
breath.
dude.
yeah, hang on, hang on.
I'm gonna kick your butt in a minute. Let me just get this milkshake out.
Let me here. The bartender gave me this tiny red straw. Let me just finish my Manhattan real quick, and then I'll be right with you.
You're like, hang on, the straw's clogged. You're like,
The umbrella's
like,
getting in the
I don't
way.
know what. I can't get a drink.
Move
Fight
that,
when as soon as I get a drink.
move that little sword holding the cherry out of the way. And finish your drink because we got to do this. Yeah. There's certain there's certain foods, certain things that I don't want to be too hard on people, but I try to avoid eating certain foods.
I will venture to guess a food that has never been eaten in Pierce's house. I'm gonna say sloppy joes. That's never been eaten
Correct,
in this
sir.
house.
Correct. You didn't even have to think about
You
that.
know,
Correct.
Anything with sloppy in it is just that's.
Especially in this
What about
round.
pizza?
also.
we haven't had any pizza here.
Holy crap.
I don't think I've had pizza since I was a kid.
This is aberrant. This is aberrant behavior, sir.
I'm
This is aberrant behavior.
Questioning your red, white, and blue.
Blood,
yeah.
He's calling it into question.
The only foods I eat are the ones that are going to give me the eagle powers. So I think I'm very much
And that would be
American.
pizza.
And that is not pizza. sir.
An eagle would eat a pizza, dude.
You're
If a
eating-
pizza was in front of an eagle's gonna eat that.
I think
crap.
that's on the flag. He's got pizza in his hands as he's on the
Bread
flag.
and cheese is not going to give you the powers, dude. That you need to have some other stuff going. You know what I tried last night, Matt? Well, actually, I've been doing this for a while. Is I love that bison, man. I just love it.
Oh, I look. Yeah. It's
and
Oh, I haven't had that, dude. I want to
haven't?
try it. No, I've never
well,
had bison. I
Costco
wanna
has
try it.
really. So you get 2 packages of bison. They come in the ground bison. They're
like
nine-
in patties or just
yeah,
like a.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're not patties. You have to open it and you just put them in a.
It's just like ground
So it's not
meat,
already.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's not made into patties. It's
Okay.
just ground meat. So I buy a bunch of them. They didn't have any at Costco a while back when I went, and it feels like Armageddon, like the apocalypse, dude.
I'm gonna do bison burgers next time we all do a show.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll eat them
I'll
outside
bring it
that
for you.
door.
Do they
but yeah.
do they taste
Yeah, no,
fundamentally
it-
different than cow?
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
They're more lean.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're leaner.
It's-
they're
yeah.
higher percentage of protein.
It's good.
and the taste is so good. The thing is that I've found an unusual. This is what I would say, an unusual combination that I'm now addicted to.
Super protein rich as well.
Yeah, I mix the bison, dude, with sardines.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's so
That's
good.
a protein bomb right
Man.
there.
It's so
dude.
good,
Oh,
bro.
it's a bomb, all right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and I was having this conversation with somebody last night. We went to this softball party for my daughter, and there was all the parents were there and stuff. And I was actually talking to this one guy that was there. He's a hunter and stuff. And you know, there's something to be said about eating food that is like elk. Like this animal has fought tooth and nail every day for its existence.
Yeah.
That makes lean muscle. That makes
Interesting.
good meat. It's not some farm fed grain corn. It's exercising every day. It is eating. It's just a better quality, nutritious food
Yeah.
than most of what you're getting in these supermarkets nowadays.
Yeah,
you know.
pizza doesn't do any exercise. It's,
I mean, I haven't had pizza in probably a year.
I know
you
it tastes good if I remember right,
Damn.
and I also remember Cocoa Puffs were good.
Well, all that
But I
stuff
don't eat
tastes.
those anymore
All that stuff tastes good. That's
Captain
why.
Crunch?
That's why they make it. It's like a drug, dude.
It's sugar.
You know,
Carb bomb.
carb bombs, drugs. I mean, that's the same. I could get on my soapbox, but
Sugar.
I'm not gonna.
Sugar is like crack.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about
What would you use?
before that.
Oh, you didn't tell. I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay.
So we're gonna do like a little segment thing. It's not gonna be a part of a show. I think it's gonna be something separate, and we're gonna film it, put it on YouTube, and we're all gonna be taking this personality test. I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want
I'm scared.
you guys to like cheat or look it up
Ooh.
and figure it out. But we'll cut out the part where you guys take the test.
Okay.
But you're gonna do it right here, and then I have a subject matter expert that we're gonna call, video call, and kind of go over everybody's stuff. And I think it's going to be super interesting. And
What if it's like you're a psychopath?
You murder people.
You probably have people in your basement right now, buddy.
You know,
and that'll be even
That's a
better.
bad thing.
I know. We think Brad's like this nice guy, and he's like chopping up bodies.
Right?
still trying to diagnose Pierce, dude. We're just keep trying
Yeah,
to
Pierce
diagnose
is going to
each
be
other.
interesting.
Yeah.
They're going to be like,
I know.
we've never seen
Freak.
somebody like this before in the history
Is,
of
there,
justice.
is there a freak? Is that something you can score
Yeah,
on
just
the test?
freak. That's what it's just labeled as freak.
Freakability. Yeah,
Yeah.
freakability.
Yeah.
In the
But
bourgeois.
yeah, so look forward to that. Right, I think we'll
Yeah,
do it
that's
next
cool.
time we get together. So in the next few weeks,
Fascinating.
we should have that out. I think it's going to be
Well,
fun.
that'll be cool.
Yeah.
It's from Cosmo, right?
Yes,
I don't know if those are still around.
1998
Yeah, I don't know if those are still
Cosmopolitan
around.
thing, man.
Do you use a compass to measure your member?
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to this. This can only lead to good things. Do you guys want to get into what would you do? Is it time for this? Okay.
Sure. Are we going to do it like we did last week where we just kind of
Shoot from the hip.
pick someone, or are we going to draw names again? What do you want to do?
Well, let's draw names. I think it's kind of introduces a little component.
yeah.
And then, oh, shoot. Do I have the names still?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
There's no preparation.
Well, we can do it real quick. I guess it's not a big thing.
Wow. This
We'll
is
be
like
right back.
that was like 1970s Tonight Show. Johnny Carson. Damn, I'm showing my age there.
I know.
Beige is
Johnny
old.
Carson. Were you old enough to watch a little Johnny Carson, or are you Jay Leno?
He's asking 11, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're waiting for 11's response.
Yeah. See, I remember
Leno.
watching Johnny Carson when I was a kid, man. That's how old I
Like
am.
I've seen clips. I don't think I ever watched it.
You weren't able to stay up that late.
Wow.
He was getting a diaper change.
Remember Star Search?
He was still.
Yeah. I was
With
really
Ed
young when
McMahon.
that. Yeah. I remember watching that a couple times.
Remember Solid Gold? Oh, wait.
Yeah. This is 80s kid talk right here, man.
What was that
80s
one
kids.
game show where they had the whammies? The thing with
Oh,
yeah.
Pressure
no
Luck.
whammies, No whammies.
Press your luck, dude.
Yeah.
I used to love that.
Big
one.
money, no whammy.
No whammy, no whammy. Stop.
All right. That was good, you guys.
A little filler there.
Yeah, you guys filled while I made our names on little pieces of paper and put them in a hat because we're going to pick those names. That way nobody knows who
I don't
they're
even have
going
a
to
what
get.
would you do yet.
You want to take a minute? Oh, let's go to another commercial. Yeah. Well, welcome back to Heroes.
No
of
whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
So we'll have you go last, but basically, just in case people don't know, I already kind of belabored describing again what Heroes of Humility is at the beginning of the show, but this is a game that we started playing, What Would You Do, WWYD, where you can really choose your own adventure. We come up with a story, a situation that you pose to somebody's name randomly who's selected out of a hat, and you describe to them a scenario. It's probably awkward. It's probably going to be embarrassing or something. And that way you can see the heroes of humility try to navigate life before your very eyes. And that person has described what they would do in that situation. Sometimes these situations come from our own lives. And you see how I can just continue to delay and give people time? I think I'm getting good at this. And then the other people will chime in afterwards and we will review the person and how they did. So without further ado, the names are in a hat. So I guess we'll just go clockwise from beige. He can pick this name first, and then you're going to read your scenario to this name.
Probably going to pick my own, which I usually do. Pierce.
Oh, right off the bat,
Wow.
There we go.
dude. Okay, and I think
So we'll
do we
one
back?
on the side.
Oh
No,
yeah,
we
we
don't
leave it on
put
the
that
side.
back.
Okay, yeah, that's how the game's supposed to work.
So
Excited.
when I was younger, I had this girlfriend, believe it or not.
What was his name?
Zing.
What was his name?
Is this
Would
a
you have one of those?
real
Lance.
story? Real story?
Yeah, that's a real story.
Okay. Let me do some calisthenics warm up.
I remember one time in particular, we went to the movies and there was some people behind us kind of being obnoxious, you know, and I've always, especially back then, I was much more, I wouldn't say anything. I just didn't want to get involved in crap. If there was a conflict or something, I would just I didn't want to deal with stuff,
I already
you
know the answer. Leave your pants on.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay,
that's
go
always a good rule of thumb.
Go ahead.
But these people behind us were being obnoxious. And this girl that I was at the movies with, she turns around and she starts laying into him. And, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, you don't want to get involved in this. But this girl is like starting crap. And you're like, I'm getting dragged into this now, right? And, I mean, they were responsive and they stopped being idiots back there and quieted down and everything.
It's good.
But I asked her, you know, we kind of talked about it afterwards. And she's like, well, I said that because because I'm with you. When I was in college, I was kind of like an amateur bodybuilder. I was a big guy, So I think she felt that because she was with me, then she could talk crap to people. And if something happened, I would take care of it, I guess.
I had something to say, but I'm not going to say it till after.
And so I'm like, what the hell? Like, how would you respond if you were with a girl that did that and was, well, I trust you to cover for me? Would you have a problem with that? Or would that affect your relationship? Or would you be like, oh, that's fine?
I've been in a similar situation, and I try to explain to that person that I might not always be there. And I think you probably should have some more wherewithal. We talked about this in an earlier show, is when Kenny Rogers, and I'll date myself, song is, you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, know when to run. And to me,
I should have run. And just note, I should have run when that happened, but I didn't. Yeah, from that relationship.
It does seem like something.
And now they've been married for
no.
We were talking a little bit ago, and I don't want to bring Eleven's personal life into this more than he wishes to unveil for the listeners, but one or two that we have. But I kind of feel like when you're dating, playing the field, and you want somebody who has the minimal amount of baggage and challenges that you can. Now, that's not that you shouldn't give everybody a fair shake, but this again isn't where you're just trying to make the world a better place. You're trying to find a companion that matches up with you. And some people have certain types of issues that are probably better left for the next person to try to work out. All right. And not my bro.
I like the way you say that.
Yeah, that was very, very diplomatic to say the next poor sucker that has to deal with you.
Yeah. So to me, somebody who wants to rely on you in a way that I think is probably not healthy is not where you're thinking a long-term thing is going to evolve. And maybe this can sometimes, my beauty is a little bit older than me. So I don't think age is a big thing, but I think that it can become a factor. And all of these things about where you guys are compatible and how they may perceive the nuances of how you interact and what the functionality of a relationship should be. You don't have to have definitions on everything, but to some degree, you have to be aware of them. Because to me, her relying on you in that way. And I would try to say something to her so that she knows, look, if I'm not there, what he can, I mean, that's probably not the best practice.
Well, right? I don't think she would do that if I wasn't there. In hindsight,
I don't think that's cool.
And in hindsight, I look at it two ways. I think either A, she was testing me.
Messed up.
That was a test.
That's a game.
Right?
Scam
like
City.
That's games that
Scam City.
That's games that some of these girls play, especially when they're younger, 19, 20, they test all the time. And I think that in hindsight, that might have been a test. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see how
Not
he
just
reacts.
when they're younger.
Yeah.
Everyone does their own.
You know,
I'm going to see how he, but then also in hindsight, it's, okay, but if you cared about me, you don't want to put me in these situations, right?
That's what I'm getting at, man. I think that's just weird because how does she not recognize that just puts you in a situation,
in an awkward situation that I don't want to be involved in?
Like, that's a tricky situation because I'm not super confrontational when it comes to stuff like that because I know where it can lead because I've been there. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I need to be doing is knocking out guys in the movie theater.
Exactly.
I'm here for a reason. So, like,
if
I was in that situation, I would want her just doing that and taking liberties on my behalf. Like, no, that's not okay with me. But if she like leaned over and looked at me and said, "Do you want me to say something?" and
that didn't happen. It was just
I know. Like,
it'd be different. Yeah.
But I would rather do it myself because I know how to talk to people respectfully. I know how to and not. I can come off like an aggressive a-hole if I want to. I can be like intimidating if I want to, but I never do that. I usually speak to people with respect and try to get that same respect back.
Right.
And as soon as they're like being disrespectful, it's like, okay, well, escalate it. You walk up that ladder. But yeah, that would speak like doing that without like talking to me first. I've been with women that have done that. And then they're like, well, I'll take care of it myself. I'm like, no, you're not going to take care of it yourself.
And then something's going to happen.
I'm just going to stand here and watch you get jumped?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't ask you to do that. He's like, you're an idiot.
Right. Well, and then this is the thing, too. And I've seen this a lot lately, just being up on like pop culture and some of the trends. I guess there's a huge thing on TikTok now with women that like, they just test men. There's a thing called like the bird test now where they'll like make a comment to a guy and say, oh, look at that bird. And you as a guy are supposed to engage in stimulating conversation about this damn bird that you don't care about. And if you don't engage in stimulating conversation about some banal topic, then you failed the test. you know?
Wow.
I mean, there's all these things, and a lot of these women are being influenced by stuff like that, and they're just testing their partners.
Here's something I want to find.
test for men.
Here's what I want for 11.
I'll be like, look at those dirty dishes over there.
Here's what I want for. Wow, we just alienated
Think about that.
the three
Dishes all in the
three
sink.
women.
I like that test. No.
the 3 women that listen to our show are now turning the
It
channel.
was a joke. Let's calm down.
Well, here's what I want for 11 because he's in the dating scene. I want him to find somebody who isn't playing any game. They're not like trying to come up with a question or a bird situation.
Well, and that's why I wanted to say that it's
Yeah.
a public service to 11. So if
Yeah.
you're with a woman and she brings up a freaking bird,
I'm just going to turn around and walk away.
yeah.
They said you're awful.
But in my opinion, if you're a guy and you're engaging in this conversation about a bird, you're full of crap. You don't care about this bird.
Exactly.
So you're not being honest with this person. Isn't that a failure if you're not being honest?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
she's
you.
failed the test.
Yeah, then
She's
I
failed.
feel like if you engage in stimulating conversation about a bird that nobody gives a crap about, you fail the test because you're lying.
Ironically, she was trying to test you, but she's the one that failed the test. Dude.
Right.
That's horrible, man.
Yeah,
These
but it's
tests,
this whole trend. It's like this TikTok stuff. It's all influencing these people.
before all these apps and stuff too, I would think. Now, I met my beauty in the time when that wasn't as prevalent, and I was able to luckily find somebody that was a perfect match for me. And the thing is that
What was his name?
11.
11.
Lance.
His name was 11, and then they were happily ever after.
I knew we had that spark 13 years ago.
11 will
or
never
so.
ask you about a bird.
Yeah, we were true with each other, I mean, I guess it goes with friendships too. Like you have to just be genuine, man. And that's what, when I watched that show I was telling you about, Love on the Spectrum, it's so cool because they're just so honest. Like they can't help it, but they're just so honest. And you wish everybody could be more honest like that. Yeah, you should have inhibitions about behaving in a completely erratic and weird way that is aberrant. But, you should be candid. You should be able to be honest. And these are all just, it sounds like horrible tricks and scams, man.
Yeah. It's a minefield out there, bro.
Here's to tell you,
I think
it's a scam.
by the way, not to digress, and I had a good one this week, and we could probably also have a segment, and I know Levin would have fun with this at my expense, but just called Scam City. And everybody could have, what did they see this week that was a scam, Real quick, the cameras that I have on my compound, okay, they were telling me that they are outdated and that I'd have to replace them. Another $500 or whatever. Guess what? They're still working past the date they said they were going to work, and I'm not changing them. Scam City. Okay, Red, it's your turn. Go ahead. Here's your thing.
Let's see here.
Yeah. The scammers became the scammees.
Beige.
Ooh, I like
This is
it.
a good
This
one.
is working out in a very calculated way.
Yeah, let's do this.
This is a good one, and
So
I'm going to
Red
need all the
picked
help.
Beige's name out of the hat. So
All right. Also, yeah, I picked beige.
Okay.
I need help. Friday, we went through this scenario, and this is definitely a what if. I was talking on the phone to a friend. Waste Management, the Open is coming up next week. And of course, my wife overheard us talking. And we were talking about, to me, bro time. Hey, we're going to go check out the Open.
Now she heard who talking?
She heard me talking on the phone.
Oh, to some other bros.
But she
Yeah.
didn't hear the
not
other.
ho bros.
She
but
didn't
some
hear
other
the
bros.
other side of the conversation, just your side of this conversation.
Just my side, but she knows me enough that she knew it was probably one of my guy friends or whatnot that I was talking to on the phone. And I was arranging on Friday because you guys know we've done this before where I actually take a day off Friday off of work and go and hang out at the Open. It's kind of like, I'm not a super huge golf fan.
Pearson,
but
I
it's
must
cool.
have missed the invite this year, huh?
Yeah, I was just what I asked earlier, are these ho bros or are these some other bros?
These are-
Because I didn't hear about this.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Oh, okay.
Because,
All right.
you know-
let's let him finish. Let's
you know
let him
me,
finish. But yeah, I'm right with you, Beige.
Yeah.
I'm
So
watching
you
this.
guys know the scenario already.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, hey, well, my wife has told me before that she would like to go. And it's one of those things. It's like, man, I've done this with my bros. I've had a good time. Granted, there's other days to go. And it's like if you have a good time with your bros and then somebody brings their wife, it's kind of like it changes the dynamic, right?
Play it.
Perfect. So we were talking about going, and it's
Sorry, beauty.
during the day. And I was just curious because afterwards they have the Bird's Nest, and they have some like concerts and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, I haven't been to a concert. And Duran Duran is playing Friday night at the Bird's Nest after the golf session.
Fascinating.
And, perfect
Still alive?
80s band type of stuff. And I was like, cool, you know what? That would be cool. What if my bro wants to do it? It's not cheap. It's $175 plus whatever ticket fees to go see. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of steep. But like when you get to, 40 and over, there's not a lot of quote bro time and a lot of like, let's go check this concert out. And my wife overheard me talking to my bro about, dude, what do you think about Duran Duran? So all of a sudden her face pops up over the room and it was, oh shit.
You're like, I didn't see you down there.
So Beige, that's the scenario is you're talking to your bro, you're trying to set this up, the wife overhears it, and you're in the room and she pops her head in. That is, what do? She pops her head in your...
Okay, you have a few options here. So option one, maybe she invites a girlfriend of hers and you can kind of split off. So you preoccupy the wife with a friend of hers and you can still have your bro times to where you don't feel obligated to be like, oh crap, I gotta balance this.
I like
hey, if you want to invite Cindy or whatever, I don't know, or Lance, you guys can do your own thing and I'll do my own thing with my buddy and that's that. That's one way of handling it. The other way, is it an option to you and your buddy just do the golf during the day and then maybe she just does the concert with you at night? So you still get that time with your buddy during the day at the golf tournament?
I mean, it's an option because it is two different times.
So that's
Honestly,
an option too.
She would probably be all for that.
Yeah.
Right? Would she want to be there at the golf all day and then go to Duran Duran?
I was already trying to like backstep and do the Matrix because I saw her face and I was like, oh shit, this is a lose-lose situation.
Or if you want to be really passive-aggressive about this, say, hey, when's the next time you're doing brunch with the girlfriends? Do you mind if I join there? And maybe we can hang out and talk about, maybe then she would get the point like, I don't want you there at brunch with me and the girls, and maybe get your point across that way. So those are your three options. Me personally, I would probably choose A. See if she wants to invite a friend.
See, and I was trying to do like, hey, well, we can go Sunday if you want, or we could go.
Don't do that because now you're committing so much damn time at the golf. Do you really want to go to the golf tournament 2-3 days?
No, not really. But I was like trying to balance it out. That was the recent scenario, my what if, that I'm still struggling
So
with.
How are you going to handle this going forward, do you think?
So before you answer that, the way my family was, everybody was so close knit. Like nobody ever really did like bro time. Like everybody always brought their wife or brought the kids and all that stuff. So I don't know if it's because of that, but I never really went and did like bro time. Like everybody just brought their wives or girlfriends, and they would usually go do their own thing,
right?
At
split
the same
off,
place,
kinda.
yeah,
right, yeah.
Like if we went to like Top Golf, we would all sit there and be smashing balls, and they would just go sit at a little table, and have their drinks, and they would all kind of like have a girl time at the same time.
Talk about how awful all you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, then there's still interaction and stuff, but it's still kind of like separate. It always satisfied what I needed.
So that's similar to option A there.
Yeah. And then that's why I agreed with you on that option A.
No, and I like that, but the wives have never really met. So I don't even know how that's going to go. And it wasn't like I
guarantee your wife would suck it up for the night and try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to go. Usually, if your buddy is married to someone, like, your wife's pretty much going to get along with them. At least they could have a little bit of a good time.
And if his wife doesn't want to go, it's always an option. She can just invite one of her friends. It doesn't have to be his wife.
What ruins it is, and one guy has a girl that's like clinging to him the whole time. It's like everybody kind of has to be like, hey, go hang out. Let us have our guy time. Like we're all here together, but just give us our little bit of, let us be stupid guys together for like an hour, man.
Have you expressed to your wife, like, hey, I kind of just wanted some bro time, Like, does she get that?
She know. Well, how do you put it? And I'm going to assume that she knows. But there's been the topic of conversation because, one of the first times I went was a day at work. It was a last minute thing and was like, oh, hey, you guys, come on. And it just happened to work out. It was a Friday where nothing was going on. Everybody took the day off. The boss even went, and we had a blast. And So then I came home from like, quote, work time when I was at the Open. I was like, what did you do today? Actually, we went to the Open. We had a blast. And she was like, well, I always wanted to go there. And I was like, it's one of those things like, it's not like I wouldn't want to experience it with her, but I guess that's my first.
It'll be a different experience.
Yeah, because like I'll tell you,
when you don't want to be dishonest, if you have an answer and you're thinking in your head, well, crap, I'm going to tell her I went to the Open and she's going to say I wanted to go, and then some guys may just be like, well, I'm going to lie to her and say I was doing this thing or whatever, So you don't want to get in a situation where you're lying to your wife.
No,
right?
but it's one of those things that if it's something you and your say one of your significant other enjoys, but the other partner doesn't. I enjoy going to the NHRA drag races. I took my wife and my kid one time. They'd never been. And if you haven't been, it's definitely an experience. I've found that people either love it or hate it. Because of the sheer noise level. Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons why I like it. But the first time I took her, she said, this is the first and last time I'm ever going. So if it was like, hey, you know what? It's going to be you and your son thing. And I get it. Believe you me. Like when she goes, hey, do you want to go see the next Sex and the City movie? I said, absolutely not. Or when Barbie came out, no, I don't want to see that. But like, you want to go for it. Like you do.
You want to invite some girlfriends and you guys make it a girl thing. Go right ahead. Yeah.
It's and
the difference here is that you didn't say, "Do you want to go?" To Waste Management and Duran Duran.
Yeah, and I didn't ask her, but she overheard it, and
but she would want to go.
And that's the funny thing is, I don't think she even likes Duran Duran. So I was like,
it's just the live music.
Think so.
I think and and everybody talks about Waste Management all the time. It's like a big party. Everybody has fun, but I would honestly have that talk. Like, do you want to bring a friend? Like, bring one of your friends, just like the option A you said. Yeah. I think it's a great idea. You guys maybe walk around and just give me and my buddy some time to
space, hang out.
I was thinking
guy stuff.
I was thinking of how
I think that's fair.
That is a good. It seems like a good solution, but I was wondering, what if the shoe was on the other foot? What if you wanted to do something that she had talked about with somebody, and then they tried to set you up with a buddy, with her husband, that you would then have to be friends with at this thing?
That's what I'm
saying.
Can
you imagine how horrible that would be?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Have her
invite a friend and pay for the friend's ticket.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bring your good friend. I'll pay for the ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you don't want to set her up on like a blind date with this guy's wife. You know, like that's just awkward potentially.
Exactly. And I'm trying to avoid that. But I guess my overall thing was this experience was started as bro time and not date time. But I get because she's heard how it's really cool.
In your wife's mind, you guys are a family, you have a kid. It's nice to get out of mom mode for a little bit. Yeah. She wants to probably get out of mom mode, right?
That's probably right, dude.
And so I definitely would go with A and see if she just wants to bring a friend. Give her that respect and space to be like, yeah, you don't have to be a mom tonight. Go out and have fun.
We're also assuming that she just wants to go to have the experience and she's not interested in like hanging out with you. Because if she wants to go hang out with you and you're like, hey, I've got somebody else you could go hang out with, then that might be.
But there's options to hang out with him all the time, either with the family or you just take her on a date somewhere some night, separately.
I think if she brings a friend and then links up with your buddy's wife, I think that would be easier for them to all get along too than just the one-on-one awkwardness.
Yeah.
Like she would at least have her buddy there.
That's a tough one, man.
I think that's the best option, honestly.
Yeah.
I think she would be all about it. Be like, yeah, you guys have your time. We're going to go.
Which usually is the case. Like when we have a family get together, even if it's our house or someone else's house, it's funny because, we go to the place together or we arrive together. But inevitably, I guess that's the dynamic my wife and I have, is when she's like with her cousins, it's her and her female cousins. They're over there talking.
Yeah, that's
stuff. And me and the guys are talking over here.
Yeah, that's the way my family's always been.
I think that's the way it is at most social
You don't need to be clung together the entire thing. And then later on in the evening, you guys hang out together.
Like I said last night, people aren't clung together the whole time. The husbands are kind of hanging out, talking amongst themselves.
Well, you're not going to have those same
there,
conversations if his wife's hanging off his arm, Like,
exactly.
too. Like,
Well, like what guys need, right? You need bro time. I need to be a guy. I need to talk
I mean,
about
if
guy
she's
stuff for a
if
while.
she's
Like she
sitting
needs
over
to
there-
talk about girl stuff
if
for a
she's
while.
sitting over there
probably.
miserable, just sitting by herself, I'd be like, come on, like I'm not saying that, but
And kind of like what we talked about before, there's a balance. It would be different if like every other weekend you're like, I'm going to go see this concert. See you later.
Yeah.
Because there was maybe the golf thing. There's some guys that probably like every weekend they go golfing and they're doing it half to play golf and half to just get away from their wife and their family, and like, so but you're not doing that. This is like a once in a
but
blue moon
you
type
went
thing.
last year and she didn't get to go,
No, and that's
and then there's
exactly,
this year.
That's-
You have to bite the bullet on this one, dude.
Yeah, she knows, and you go every year, so she knows that,
Yeah, I didn't go last year because of work obligation, but I would have normally.
Yeah,
Because-
because you get kind of a discount. So
Yeah, so it's one of those things, and plus it's close to where I live, so it's I don't know, it's fun. It's the people watch. You go around, you look at some golfers, and
there
have
isn't
a
it
good time.
the people, the way they behave is so fascinating at that thing.
Oh yeah, it's
The way people
you get
dress,
all different types.
Oh yeah, the dress alone is like hilarious.
the way that people dress up.
some of
to
the
walk
women
around in the
the
dirt
women
and
dressing
grass
there in like their stiletto heels, walking an 18-hole course. You're like,
know.
really?
is fascinating. Oh, you want me to go?
Oh yeah, he might not
Oh,
be ready.
I'll let you go last. Okay,
Man, I still haven't even
sorry,
thought
buddy.
of it.
I got red.
Oh,
All right.
Well, I guess it's process of elimination. right?
That'll give you even more time because.
I'm
Okay,
long-winded. Yeah.
and so we're gonna skip you and go to me. Yeah, and that'll give you a little more time.
So who do you get then? I'm trying to think. Who's left?
Well, this is the conundrum because
You get to pick whoever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. So, okay, here's my situation. Remember we were talking earlier in the show, seems like in the last recording, but this one, that I sometimes maybe have a little bit too much misplaced confidence. When I was in high school, there was this girl that I thought was beautiful. I was like a freshman and she was like a junior or senior. And there was this dance coming up. And I had told one buddy that I liked her and I thought, yeah, if I was going to ask somebody, I would ask her, just kind of off the cuff. And the next thing I knew, I think it was by lunchtime that day, people had heard that I was going to ask this girl to this dance. And I was like, well, I didn't say I was going to ask her, but it's like, well, I'm going to ask her. And so it just kind of became a thing. I walked into the lunchroom. I remember she had some friends, but I never saw her sitting with that many people that I saw that day. All of a sudden, it seemed like there were a lot more people. And so I went over and I don't know that this is really what happened, but it felt like it. As soon as I walked in the lunchroom, everybody was looking at me. And then I saw she was sitting with all these people and I'm like, what is going on? This is not. So I went and I think I got my food or whatever. And I sat down. I was with a buddy. He's like, well, are you going to ask? And I was like, yeah, well, I guess. And I'm going over there and on my way to her table, I realized the situation.
He dimed you out.
Not only did I think I got dimed out, but how do you take a girl if you don't have a car to the dance?
Oh, you're a freshman,
All
right?
this
So
stuff,
you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
14-ish?
Right. I mean,
Semantics.
I was,
You figure that out later.
that was pretty much the way I rolled most of the time. And my sister used to get upset with me because she's like, everything always works out for you and this and that. And I was just, but it's just, I think it's just perception.
You're like,
just
hey,
you
I make
think.
stuff happen.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
just
Ferris
think.
Bueller's movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's true, but that was just always the way it seemed, It's because you live a life without any, like, you don't look at reality. The reality that honestly, this girl might have been out of my league. She was so pretty and she was so much older. She was driving herself to and from this institution that I went to every day and I was not, right? So
It was a mental hospital.
it should have been. It should have been. Maybe I would be a better Pierce, but so when I walked over there, I just felt everybody. And by this point, and I don't think I'm susceptible to conformity or pressures. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'll do whatever I feel I need to do, right? So but I'll tell you, there was some pressure, right? And even Pierce was feeling it. So I walked over there and I said, I'm planning to go to the dance. And I figured, why don't we go together? She looked at me with so much compassion and so much humanity. And she said, I totally would. And I could see everybody around her just looking at me. And the rest of the conversation at that point just seemed to take so long. It was just seemed so long because as soon as she's saying,
slow,
yeah, exactly. Like a car accident.
you're like, spit it out, woman.
Because she said, I totally would, but I've already told somebody I'm going with them. And in my mind, I was like, basically, she doesn't want to go.
Heart.
And you're to blame, honey. You give love a bad name.
I think that's when we need that sound effect. That wah wah. I think that's.
And unfortunately, I'm the only one that's ever going to have access to the buttons. But yeah, it was just rough, man. And I heard that legitimately she had already. But of course, she was going with some guy who had probably already asked her weeks ago. The dance was like that Friday night. I want to say this was on a Wednesday. And I didn't have a car. He was probably picking her up. The whole thing, it was like, I was so delusional, man.
Is it confirmed that she actually went with somebody else?
Yeah, she did go with somebody else.
So
yeah,
that was
I did
true.
hear
That wasn't just.
I did hear that.
Okay.
And I didn't miss the smile that you had while you were asking that. That stung a little bit, dude.
He took joy in
I
it.
saw
He
that
took joy in
create.
it.
Yeah.
I saw that thought create in his head. Where
Yeah.
It was just like a big
Yeah.
Joker smile going on his
Pleasure.
11 is a student of human behavior, and I saw the same thing. It reminded me of the Grinch.
I was like, here it goes. And then he put his hand up like that. I was like, he feels bad for this one.
Yeah, he actually raised his hand before he said it, and it was like
I'm gonna destroy this guy's confidence even more.
it was like when the Grinch smiles and it just like
Yes,
goes from
it
ear to
was,
ear, dude, and it was slow, like curled.
I
up.
totally would, but I'm shampooing my hair that night.
Anywho, so the question is, my friend, you put yourself into that situation where you're halfway to the table. What do? Do you go through it like I did, or do you come to your senses and?
It's you know what? I think most guys can relate back to when you're in high school, and I don't know if all of us, but definitely I know I think the same way when I was freshman, sophomore. To me, the older classmen were actually, the females were more attractive. I don't know. I can't
Maybe
maybe they were
explain
more
why,
mature
but
or something.
I know, that's so true.
But to like you said, to put yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, I liked a girl, and then you're like, oh wait. How are we even going to get there? She's going to drive me. And I've said this, I don't know if I've said it on the show before, but if you had your brain now,
If I wasn't such a stupid idiot.
and the maturity that you have now, and you could put it back into your 14-year-old brain, how different your choices would be. Because I mean, you didn't say what actually happened afterwards, because usually we say afterwards, hey, well, what did you end up doing? For me, I probably would have just done the same thing, turn around and walk away and keep my tail between my legs. And you walk back and maybe ask one of your friends that's a girl or something like that. But your wisdom now would be like, okay, I know you're not going, but what about your sister? What about your friend? Do you have any friends?
Oh, jeez.
Like, that way you kind of like, okay.
Is your mom busy that night?
Yeah. Push her to the side and be like, hey, I was looking at you, but you're not the only fish in the pond.
I've been looking and I'm
What are you doing
liking. I'm
after
thinking
that?
your mom is probably pretty cute too.
So if you're not available, your
Hey,
mom's probably...
hey, if it doesn't work out with that guy, maybe we can link up.
Save me a dance. You know what I'm like? You've seen those guys at the bars, and I will say, being younger, you envy like you see those guys in there can go talk to a girl, boom, 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 and it's like they're playing the numbers game. I will say, like, I've always been a little bit more not as extroverted, and you are, and I'm like, man, that guy can go over there and just boom, boom, boom.
Just get turned down so many times.
And you think about it, and you're like, you know what? It's probably right. Just give it a shot. Like,
It's a numbers game.
when you're young, you like focus on this one tunnel vision on this one girl, and it's nobody else. There's probably tons of other girls that are available. Because I like you. I remember doing the same thing. You know, us guys are freaking last minute when it comes to high school. And it's like, I remember, I think it was my junior year where you're like able to go to prom. And I liked one girl. She was older, and I'm like, you know what? Like you said, I didn't have a car. I was talking to some of my friends, and right away the girls were like, yeah, there's any of the girls are getting asked like 2-3 months in advance.
Exactly.
And here I am the week of like, who's available? So I'm not
Well, it didn't occur to me last
Lone
week.
Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up-
Lance.
yeah, I ended up going with one of my friends that was a girl. She was cool. I ended up talking her out of going with her friend that she was going to invite from another school to the dance. And I talked her out of taking him. But I guess overall, back then I would have had probably the same reaction you did. Is just, I'm guessing, turn around and just walk of shame and try to disappear.
Would you continue with that? Like, if you had this revelation as you were walking up, would you go through with it, or would you turn around and just not ask?
Yeah, because the situation was that everybody was looking, and so if you turn around and leave, they all know you basically
Chickened out.
Yeah. So that was also part of the scenario I'm describing, and that's what happened. So it definitely upped the. And like I said, I'm not a conformist.
I would have asked her and say, "Come here, I need to talk to you
in private. Yeah. And
I
would
wouldn't-
made the
like,
senior
I'm not-
girl stand up and walk with
Yeah,
you
hey,
somewhere
can I
else.
talk to you
Yeah.
over here for a second? And
I
if she
would've
said
just-
no, I'd be like, okay. Well,
I would have
good,
just
I
hit
don't
her
have to
up
ask
on
you now.
Facebook.
Yeah, there
You
was.
know, I will say it's so weird because I think back to my junior high school dance that we went to, and it was totally like the guys on one side, girls, and nobody was dancing because everybody was so like worried about being embarrassed and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Lame.
that's where you say, okay, man, if I was older, you just get out there, like do like you said, is come up, ask her. But it definitely takes more confidence. And when you're 14, like you got zits and you're worried about your pit stinking. Am I talking right? This is an older chick. It's strange. All those come into factor. When you're older, you're just like, well, she's either gonna like me or not. If she doesn't, meant to be. See, I'll go to the next one.
Is it weird? When I was in high school, I had a girlfriend that was 5 years older than me.
I think so.
happened in
That's
Chumos.
definitely some confidence because I found girls like, I mean, all of us back in the day, you watch Baywatch and you're like, oh my gosh, she's smoking hot. She's 5, 6 years, 7 years older than you, but you'd never, at least me, I would never think of talking. That girl's way too mature. 5 years older than you and you're younger? Props.
Yeah.
Then you get older and think about the legality of that. It's not on me.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on, it's not on you. It's on Lance.
Speaking of weird stuff like that,
She was sophisticated.
here
You were
goes mine. What would you do? And this is a true story.
Who are you picking?
Oh, Pierce. Damn.
All right, let's do it.
I
Let's roll up
love
our
you,
sleeves,
buddy.
man. I love you too, brother.
You're.
A freak of nature. I love you
I just
too,
love. I don't know.
We'll see what
I love your.
We'll see what the personality
His
is.
reaction.
dude. We were talking.
You
We've
never
got to
know.
start doing more stuff together. There's so many crazy ideas we've had just on how to have a blast, dude. We got to start doing that, and we'll
Oh yeah,
film them.
we're gonna
We'll try to
start.
film
We're gonna
them.
start having outings as
Yeah,
well,
all
and
of us.
filming those. I
Sweet.
think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
We're-
Down.
I think I should go with you on your dates, honestly.
Yeah. Chaperone. Do you need a chaperone?
Yeah, you just sit there with a clipboard and a pen.
Taking notes. Yeah, we're going to talk all about this.
Yeah. But anyway, just an idea.
All right, high school, 17. It's summer school actually.
Breakfast club.
You're a surfer. You just show up in board shorts and like with sandals every day,
Spicoli.
and you have long hair, and you go surf every morning before you get there.
Spicoli, dude.
I like it.
And you have a young teacher, and she's 26, I think she was, and she's very good looking. Her last name is Hobink. How weird is that,
fantastic.
right?
Stars have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I had stitches in my foot because I'd cut it surfing. It was towards the end of the summer school thing. It only lasted like a month and a half or something.
Yeah.
And it was like a half day. Like you go in at like 9 and it's done at 12 or something. And towards the end of it, she starts being more smiley, touching you, like laughing and stuff. And I sat in the back of the class and I'm like, I was so oblivious
Yeah.
to stuff like this when I was that
me
age.
too.
So oblivious. One day, and it's like, I think it was like the last week of summer school. And I was walking out with everyone else, and I had left, I think, my sunglasses or something. I used to get really bad headaches, so I always had to wear sunglasses because the light would kill me. So I turned around, I went back and got them. And when I turned back around, everyone was just exiting the class. And she was standing in front of her desk, and then she starts talking to me. I forget what it was, and I started talking to. So I was, walking up to her because we're engaged in a conversation. And she jumps up to sit on the desk with a skirt on and doesn't have her legs crossed. And then she starts like touching your arm, and then it all hits you at once. Like, oh, this is like a hitting on you thing. What would you do?
She did a Sharon Stone thing to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not getting too graphic with the
Yeah.
description of it all, but it was clear and evident.
And you're a 17-year-old boy.
And you're saying, what would you do? Like,
What would you do in that situation? Would you go for
I
it?
have homework. My mom called me.
did you take your vitamins that morning? Have you had full nutrients?
Yeah. Oatmeal was good that morning.
You know what stinks about when you want to answer these questions is there are people that might be listening. There are people that are part of your world, and you're not
Don't
that
answer
17
your
right
frame
now.
of mind now.
Yeah,
Answer
you've got to put yourself back in the idea of
at 7. Give me that answer.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, I had some situations like this, and I remember thinking back to them and thinking, I would have done that. I would have been more like James Bond instead of like, the kid from Breakfast Club that I wanted to be. I can't remember the characters' names, but I identified with the guy that was the jock in that scene.
Emilio Estevez.
But there are parts of me that were like the kid that writes the essay at the end.
The nerdy kid?
Yeah, because in some of those situations I did with the nerdy kid, I'd be like, I can't believe why is this lady doing this? This doesn't make sense. We're not in the same grade. And so, but yeah, dude, honestly, I would explore something with her. I would have. I was in a situation like that before, and this was in college, and it wasn't really that weird. She was older, but she was a professor. Even though it was accounting, I still thought she was exciting. Accounting is not an exciting topic, but she was, especially when she would start talking about it, doing things like you're describing. And there have been times where I have, and I'm like, I don't want to live life with regrets.
And this is a regret of mine because I left.
Yeah.
She actually pulled me close, and I was just like, I think it's because it all hit me at once, and I didn't.
You just freaked out.
Yeah.
Fight or flight, and you flighted.
I did, dude.
Isn't that?
And when I left, I had the 72 Chevelle, the hot rod, and it was parked like right. And I remember getting in my car, and I'm like, hey.
I wish everybody could see your face right now.
I'm like going over my whole life, like, where did I go wrong, man?
Where did everything start?
That's what I say. Like, if you had the maturity now, today, that you had back then, the answer 1,000%.
In my head, there was no way that would ever happen.
Yeah, you thought she was attractive and everything, but
I was
when presented with the opportunity.
But then it actually happened, and then I don't know. Like, I just didn't. It like hit me all at once, and I was just, I don't know if it was like a panic or what.
Now, if we fast forward to not being a 17-year-old kid anymore, I will tell you that probably the odds are, and I would say maybe let's say 70% odds that you probably dodged a lunatic bullet. Because look, I don't know how much older she was than you.
26.
She's 26.
And a teacher.
Yeah, and she's a teacher. Okay. And you were in his high school or?
Well, yeah, I was 17.
Yes, okay.
Going into senior year.
So, yeah.
And I didn't look like I was in high school then. Like, right. I was in really good shape from surf. Like, I don't know, all testosterone hit me, and I'd been other places. People thought I was like in my 20s or something, Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to but she's not trying to bang a child.
But she did have some background information that you weren't in a bar, and she knew you were in this class and that you were
a student.
So she kind of knew. Look, wonder now as an adult, what would it take for you to behave that way? Look at this guy. He's showing us a picture of himself. He was an Adonis,
that's
dude.
exactly what I looked like.
He was an Adonis. Yeah. He still is an Adonis.
But exactly.
That was during that summer, actually.
So that's what
that guy looks 40 years old in that picture.
I wonder if it's
in a good way.
He's
mature looking.
Granted, I've talked about this with my wife before.
She had special things happening
and most of us guys,
when she saw this,
we're not all peers. Where we have young ladies coming up to us at all times.
No, come on.
But I've talked about this with my wife, where she's like, an attractive woman gets used to being hit on. And she's used to term like dodging those bullets. Like, she's used to dodging those bullets. And then for us guys, usually that if you think you're an average dude, when presented to, and it happens to you, it just catches you off guard. You don't know what to do. Like, you're not used to dodging those bullets. And when you're hit with it, you're kind of,
and you have an accident.
And you thought she was, well, no, it's like you said, you thought she was attractive. And then when you get hit with the opportunity, you're just like, huh? Like, what? Like, if it's a girl that's in your league, or maybe you think it's out of your league because maybe maturity or whatnot, actually comes up to you and talks to you, especially at your younger, immature age, it catches you off guard. Whereas a girl that's, say, more attractive is used to turning down guys or dodging, navigating that environment than we are. So when a guy gets presented with,
I've always been oblivious to anything.
Even
to this day. I don't when I go to a bar, like you were saying, guys go in there and they'll play the numbers game and they're like hitting on everyone. Like there's probably been 2 or 3 times I've actually targeted to go like hit on a girl.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's just not what I like. I don't go to a bar with buddies and stuff to like for that purpose. I just go there to have fun and talk with people. So I'll go there. I'm just kind of like nice to everyone, but it's not like a flirting thing.
Well, because my
I'm just
thought,
there to have
my
a
thought
good
on that,
time as a group.
yeah, my thought on that with the girl is like she's probably thinking, oh, here we go again.
Yeah,
There's another
and I've
guy.
had women,
you know, like
I've had
so-
women give me that attitude. I'm like, I'm not even hitting on you. I'm just trying to have a good time. Like,
right.
and I'm like, I'm bullet dodged there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. You know, I was
I'm married. Excuse
going.
me.
For, yeah,
But
Talking
that's
about the
like-
weather. What the hell?
yeah, I'm like, we're just all talking. It's like a big group thing. Like we're
Well-
like, let's all. You go to a bar. Like I don't like when everyone stays all segregated. Like you're all in that bar together. Like have a good time. Everyone together.
in my
so I
eye-
like sitting at the bar.
In my eyes,
like,
it's like, okay, well, what does the woman think? Because is she more attracted to the guy that she thinks is attractive, but is not coming up to her and hounding her? Is that more enticing to her, or
I
is
think
it, or
it's a-
does she want that guy
I think
to
it's
come
more
up
of
to
a
her?
natural attraction thing like that. Like you just kind of get to know. You're just talking as like a friendly person instead of like a targeted. I think she's hot. I'm
Like,
gonna go lay
but
down
do,
some
but do
lines
women
and-
ever see a guy and be like, "Man, I wish he'd come up and talk to me," and then
I think so.
and then you don't. But they're not going to go up and talk to you. They're waiting for you to go up and talk to them, but
Yeah.
you just never do.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, all right, well, he didn't talk to me, so I guess I'm just moving on. Because I don't think women are, because just generally the dynamic of the sexes, women are not going up to men for the most part. They are waiting for the man to come up to them. That's just the dynamic that we have.
a primal
but
thing.
if women actually find a guy attractive, are they cool with nothing happening? If that means they don't have to go up to that
You know
guy
what?
and talk to him.
That has happened to me more when I was married or with somebody, and it was like painfully obvious
yeah.
that like it happened close by when I was with my ex. I walked to the bar. We were all playing. We were with a big group of people, and it was obvious that her and I were together. And I walked over to the bar to go get some drinks for us both. And this girl walks up and starts talking to me about my shirt. You know,
Like being flirtatious.
yeah, like rubbing her finger on my shoulder and all that. And it's, when she first came up to me, I was like, oh, friendly conversation. You know, I didn't take it as anyone hitting on me. But when she started doing the finger thing, I was like, oh, like it was like it was like me being 17 years old, and this happened like a couple years ago.
And guys,
I was like, oh,
I think it's more girls do it
I'm
subtle.
an idiot, dude.
But
Like,
guy-
I'm an idiot.
but guys don't know what to think. And maybe I'm completely off base, but if you're in a bar and a girl just comes up to you and starts talking to you without you doing anything, she's already interested in you.
Yeah,
If she's just coming up,
You're
even
right.
if it's just friendly conversation at first, she's already interested in you because she's coming up and she's not going to come up and be like, dude, you're hot. You know, like she's not going to say that. She's going to come up to you and be like, hey, and just make conversation. If she wasn't interested in you at all, she'd just ignore you, dude. You know, like that's
and-
kind of the way I look at it now.
and I need to keep this stuff in mind because this also happened recently. That same bar. This was years later. This actually happened like a month ago. I was going to Best Buy, and on the way home, I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop in there and get something to eat. Sit at the bar, you know, by myself, have a drink. And there was like nobody around, and there's nobody on this side. This girl walks in, sees me, walks all the way around, sits right next to me. And I'd been sitting there for a little while at 8, and I was kind of talking with the bartender and stuff. And so I was like, she sits right, and so we just started kind of talking. But then the 2 bartenders got off of work and came down and sat directly on my right. But the same thing, I was oblivious to what was happening until I was in the middle.
Well, that and you're kind of like, I think you and I have the same, hey, man, this just happened to work out. Cool. Yeah, we're talking. And then all of a sudden oh, shit. Like,
Yeah.
But in reality,
I'm only there with the intent of just being a friendly person. Like, I'm
just
not.
I won the
And
lottery.
all of a sudden, I'm sitting there like, whoa, like, what do I do?
That's
All
the,
right, I'm going home. Bye.
no, but you probably same scenario where you go to a party or to a bar or something like that, and say you have a friend that's a girl there, and you all leave and stuff. I'm like, hey, 11, what'd you think of that one wearing the red shirt? Oh yeah, she was cool. Oh, she was totally into you, and you're just like, how? Wait, what? She was into me? Like, I thought she was pretty too, but how do you know she was into me? Oh, she like looked at you and then she touched your arm, and I'm like, and you're thinking back in your head like, well, yeah, this other chick touched my arm. This other dude touched my arm. Like, Why? It's so subtle. Like,
Years after high school, I ran into like these two girls and they were like, "Oh, hey, you know, what have you been doing?" And I was like explaining the Army thing and all that. And they're like, "Oh," and they're like, "Man, we had such a crush on you in high school." I was like, "Really? Me? Why?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, all the girls did. Everyone. You could have had any girl in high school." And I was like, "Get out of here."
what, who told me this?
I know. I was like,
Wait a second.
this is nuts.
No. I remember I had a friend that was a girl
just
in high school.
oblivious,
I
yeah.
thought was pretty, but we were friends, and like this was junior high, and I was definitely a late bloomer. I'm like thinking, worried about, hey, can I BMX with my buddies? I wasn't thinking about girlfriends because, like you said, what car was I going to take? How are you going to go on a date? You got no money. And then you hear later on, she's like, oh yeah, you know what? I thought you were so cute. Wait, how come you never told me? Like we could have dated or something. But
Damn, it's kind of like the wonder years, dude. You wonder back and wonder.
But like, I guess I was gonna
had a different
ask
life.
you, 11. Like, can you imagine if you were the teacher? What did she think of that scenario that you didn't like her? You know what I'm saying? Like,
what was her
you're right.
reaction?
yeah, but in her mind, what was she thinking?
Yeah, we're thinking
I don't
about
know.
it from our perspective.
I think that
the whole next year she was still really flirty with me, and there was this other young teacher that was a guy, and he treated
flirty
me
with
like
you too?
shit, dude. Yeah, his name was Lance.
he
probably liked
he
her.
saw it and he hated on
He
you.
did, and he was all into her,
Like-
and he,
Weird, man.
well,
Oh,
and I was like to the point where I was like, dude, I'm about to fight you,
but
like it's gonna go down.
But see, I think that's the dynamic of the sexes. I think women, when they put themselves out there to do that, they are thinking that you are reading what they're saying, and if you're not responding, that means you don't like them. Because I've had that happen a few times too, where
guys
like
are- guys are
that's
dumb,
happened to me,
dude.
and I didn't
No, absolutely.
respond.
Guys are dumb.
And I didn't respond the way that they thought that I should.
Yeah.
And then they move on to somebody else, and they're like, "Well,
I gave you your chance.
yeah,
You're like, when?
well, he doesn't like me." And I'm
an
like,
idiot.
"No, it's not that I don't like you.
I'm
like,
just a
well,
dumbass."
You just misread that. You know?
Ma'am, it's not that I don't like you. I'm just not very quick on the uptake.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think with that, guys, we could probably transition into our goodbye. We appreciate our listeners tuning in again. I've learned something today. I can't remember what it was, but I remember feeling like I learned
I learned
something.
something. but I don't
11's a
remember
giant
what it was.
pussy.
Yeah. And I'm proud of you guys. I'm glad we were able to get back together. So this
Pearls
is
of
Pierce
wisdom.
signing off, and then we got
Beige.
Red.
11.
take care, guys. Congratulations, you've got another Heroes of Humility episode under your belt. We appreciate your support. Check us out at Facebook, Instagram. We have a YouTube page. We're going to be putting videos up there eventually. Anyway, long story, more boring. It's going to be February 24th. That's coming up next weekend. The Hoes will be with their rides at the Desert Ridge High School Theater Car Show. Check us out. We'll have some stickers and paraphernalia for people that come up. Just say hi. And we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Take care. Be cool. Be kind.